Crazy. Way to go. I love it. Any day now. What's the song?
Bro, stop moving, dog.
Damn, you've been here a long time.
Bro, what did you do to him?
I can't even look at this dude.
What did you do to him?
I didn't do shit. What do you mean, what did I do? He just got a case of chuckles, man. Yeah.
Bro, you good?
Oh, there we go.
You okay? I bet you won't take that much no more again.
That's great.
What the fuck?
I find your lack of power disturbing.
My name is Darth.
Whiskey.
That's the stupidest name I've ever heard.
Welcome back, Dum Dum.
The dojo is real?
Hello there. Welcome to Dumb Dumb Dojo. I'm your host, Darth Whiskey. And this is it. This is episode 1. So first and foremost, thank you for joining me. However it is you're joining me, if you're watching, if you're listening, thank you for riding shotgun with me on this maiden voyage into the galaxy of podcasting. I despise the next sentence that's about to come out of my mouth, but I gotta say it. If you enjoy the show, if any of this makes you giggle or think a little bit, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it with a friend, send it to your mom, show your mom what a handsome, sweet, charming, intelligent, humble young man I am. Man, it has been a motherfucker of a process, gathering all this gear and then teaching myself how to use it and teaching myself how to cut video and do shit like this. Ready? Whoosh. Like this took me like days to figure out how to do, and then I'm gonna throw it. Whoosh. For those of you listening to the audio only version of this, I just used the force to make waffle fries appear out of thin air, and then I whooshed them. They've been whooshed off the screen. Is these kinds of brilliant visual gags that I'm spending a truly absurd and seriously inefficient amount of time editing into the video version of this podcast. So a special thank you to those of you who are watching on YouTube. And if you're just listening, fucking pause the shit and go watch the video. The video is more fun, I promise. It's a lot more fun. All right. My guest for this first episode is my good friend, Charlie Wilson. Charlie is a magnificent keyboard player and piano player who shared the stage with some of the biggest names in pop music. He's a composer, a musical director, and a producer. But more than anything, he has been an unbelievable friend and someone who's always had my back and always been there for me to go to for help and advice, not just in the realm of music, but with other real world, the fuck am I gonna do with my life type situations. I've learned a lot from Charlie over the years, and this was a really fantastic and insightful conversation, and one that I'm glad that I'm able to bring to you guys as the first episode. So I'm gonna shut the fuck up so that we can get to it. Thank you guys again for joining me, and welcome to the dojo.
Let me get some of that. What's that, whiskey right there?
This is some whiskey my sister got for me from New York. It's called All Points West Malt and Grain Pot Still Whiskey. I will sip on this periodically, but if I step on the gas too quickly, too soon, it's gonna be a mistake for everybody. Do you do coffee? You're a coffee guy, right?
Every now and again.
Uh-huh.
I'm not like coffee every morning. Fuck that. No way. Oh, I can cuss and shit too, right?
Of course. Yeah.
I was just about to say, because yeah. Okay. Yeah, not like every morning. Like, no. Like right now, I am drinking tea. So this has kind of been like the wave I've been on right now is like a tea wave, so it kind of goes back and forth.
I wish I was cultured enough to like tea. Like, I wish I was cultured enough to like coffee. Like, as a dude, as a man, I wish I could like roll up to a diner and be like, I'll take a coffee.
How the fuck are you Asian and you don't drink tea?
Oh man, if we want to get into that right off the bat from the inaugural episode, I'm a miserable Asian. I'm a terrible Asian. Can't do math. Major disappointment to my parents. Average size penis. Above average driver. Like, can't play tennis. Can't play chess.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Cheers to you, Mr. Charlie.
Cheers to you, bro.
My whiskey intake, especially during quarantine, has been significantly reduced.
Oh, really? I thought it would be the opposite.
No, it kind of was like early days. I don't know about you, but here's how the roadmap of my quarantine went, right? Like early March, we're like, oh, okay, we got to start taking this shit seriously. And then it just kind of felt like an extended spring break for me for like 2.5 weeks. And so I leaned into like Lebowski Thor hard of just like, I'm waking up at 3 p.m. I'm eating top ramen for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All the sodium, you know what I mean? Like all the just full on scumbag lifestyle. And then when like April rolled around and we were still kind of stuck here, it was like, fuck, I got to get used to this. If I keep doing it like this, I'm just going to stay like this because I'm good at staying on my bullshit. You know what I mean? I'm very good at self-deception and self-demotivation. So what about you, man? How was quarantine?
So like quarantine was kind of like, it wasn't bad for me. Like as far as creativity, as far as motivation. And I felt like I needed everything to slow down for a fucking second so I could just like recalibrate everything.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, I started writing. I got thrown into that workshop. And when I got thrown into the workshop, it was just like, you know, writing every day for 100 days, like making that commitment. Dude, it worked out perfect.
Dude, so
like,
talk to me about the workshop. Tell me what it's called.
Okay. So the workshop is called the Creators Workshop. It's put on by marketing guru Seth Godin. And it's a community where everyone kind of supports everyone in their creative practice. And in your creative practice, you kind of get used to, you make a 100-day commitment to show up every day for 100 days. Oh. No days off.
That sounds so terrifying to me.
It's so, listen, dude, it was so fucking terrifying. At the beginning of it,
just
I was
on an accountability level, you know what I mean? Of like,
exactly,
fuck, if I don't show up to the gym today, it's public. It's super public.
Absolutely. That's exactly how it is. But at the same time, when you're creating something like I was writing my album, like at a certain point, people were in the community were like, oh, I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is go to your dailies and listen to the music that you've written. So then the accountability became like, holy shit, there's a fan base. There are people who are actually listening. There are people who are, you know, when they pour their morning coffee, they hit play on my dailies to see what I wrote that night.
Right.
You know, so now I'm like, you don't want to be a douchebag and like not show up for these people, you know? And then I started getting more, and the further I got into it, the more the stories were like one lady, she and her mother, she would listen to like the Bachelor podcast every morning when she would go in the kitchen and her mom would be sitting there and she'd get her coffee. So one day she went in and she was playing my dailies and her mother says, oh, I like that much better than that silly podcast that you listen to. I like the piano music better. Uh-huh. So it became a ritual for them to connect. And it impacted me in such a way that I ended up writing a piece and naming it after her mother.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, it was just my way to giving back and saying, you know what you guys do every morning is what motivates me to do what I do and to show up every day. So here's looking at you, kid. You know, here's a song that I wrote and I don't have a title for it. And what's your mother's name? And she says, well, it sounds like an ocean. And my mother's name is Amalia. So I said, okay, Amalia's Ocean.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
You know, so like I said, quarantine didn't hit me like too crazy. It just gave me the time that I needed to actually sit down and focus on some shit for a minute, you know?
I hear that story and I'm like, damn, if Charlie was in his own head the way that I'm in my own head all the time of like, oh, I can't do it because like there have been so many videos and like cover shits that I've like written and edited and did the whole thing. Then I'm about to push like publish and I'm like, I look chubby in this video, or like I can hear the phrasings wet or whatever it is, right? And then I don't do it. And I'm like, I think those criticisms of myself could still be valid, but like first and foremost, none of you people give a fuck, and nor can many of you people hear a fuck, right? Like exactly. You probably can't hear where I'm copying and pasting and comping shit anyways, right?
No fucking way.
So with that in mind, like I don't know, man. It's just this is one of the gazillion reasons that I wanted to have you on. And I skipped ahead without really giving you too much of a proper introduction. So I want to get into like who the fuck you are and how we know each other and our history together. But one thing I will say, which I don't know how often I tell you this, but I tell other people this about you all the time. Oh, cool. So first episode, probably going to start crying. That's going to be fun.
That's great.
I look up to you a lot, man. When I think of who Charlie Prince Wilson is in my head, right? Like there's such a security and identity about you. Like I've never felt that you feel any kind of a fear of like,
Oh.
or
What?
hesitation from doing the thing. You know what I mean? Like, based on your reaction.
Do not be deceived, my dude.
Yeah, interesting.
Do not be deceived. There are those moments of insecurity. There are those moments of who am I and what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
This is one of the things that Seth Godin preaches. He says, writers write. Writers write. Doesn't matter if you have good ideas or bad ideas. If you have shit ideas, you have to sit down and write them in order to get to the good ideas. You have to clean out the pipes sometimes.
Sure.
So you can't just wait for the muse to hit you all the time. The only time you sit down and work is when the muse hits you like, oh, I feel great today, man.
Absolutely.
You know, let me write. No, it doesn't work like that. Like you write all the time. You work on your craft all the time. There are some of my dailies within the workshop, dude, where it's like 20 poop emojis. Just straight across the screen.
You're personally not happy with it.
Like today was total shit. Like here's how much shit it was. 21 of them, you know? And then I post it and everyone's like, oh, it's not that bad. I like it. I like this piece. I like that part. I like this part. But to have that immediate feedback and have peer-to-peer relationships where someone is communicating with you and giving you feedback and giving you insights on the spot about what you're creating, it's scary. Because basically
you're vulnerable.
I'm vulnerable. I practiced. I wrote in front of an audience. You know, as musicians, we don't write in front of the audience. We write the song and then we put it out. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
This was another process for me. This was writing in front of an audience.
Right.
And from doing that, I gained this superpower. Like I'm like superhero, Superman standing now. Like for 121 days, I wrote an album in front of a crowd. Dude. You know, super empowering stuff. There are definitely moments for me, dude, where I'm like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Even then, though, like that speaks to just the resilience on top of that to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it scared. In my greatest moments of triumph, I feel similarly, right? Where it was like, I was scared. I did not feel prepared for this audition, but fuck it, I'm gonna swing for the fences and I'm gonna try the lick that I don't think I have. But if I nail it, I'm gonna nail it, right? Like, it's not the most efficient strategy. I've definitely fucked up, right? Like, I don't know how much you follow basketball, but there's a basketball player named J.R. Smith who like real questionable shot selection, but every now and then he'll go 7 for 8 from 3 and just be on fire. But then sometimes he pulls some bonehead shit. I don't love that I'm that way, but I am that way in the sense of like trying the lick, right? Like, I don't know if this is going to work, but if it works, I'm going to be really happy and it's going to come through. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I
once heard this amazing, Instagram is an amazing thing, dude. It's such an amazing tool. We get to connect with people we have no idea we're going to connect with.
Bro.
I come by this lady, Anna Crabtree, who just happens to be the lady who created the costumes for The Handmaid's Tale. And then as I follow her, I'm like, whoa, she's so epic. Everything she does, everything she says is epic. She said this one statement. She said, if I am not afraid of it, it's no good. When I step into a job, I want to be afraid. I want to be scared.
Sure.
Because that means that I'm pushing the envelope of my creativity. Like that in itself is a key to the castle. It's like a major key. Like it has to make you feel like, oh, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. There has to
be stakes, right? Yeah.
There has to be that degree of
That's so interesting.
Fear. You know, you have to be scared of it, you know? And that's what makes you better is the more stuff that you go at. Like Will Smith's always talking about attacking your fears. Like if it's something you're afraid of, go at it, attack it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I've kind of adopted into my own life is like, if I'm afraid of it, I'm going at that shit. That's the cue that says that's what you're supposed to be doing. Because once you get through this, guess what? There's another one waiting for you.
Sure.
You know, there's something else you're going to be afraid of,
sure.
But you will have, you know, accomplished and gotten yourself to this point. I always go at it. I want to go at it. I don't care what the fuck happens. I don't care if I fall and bust my face.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, the reason why I am the way I am as a musician is because I've made more mistakes.
Sure.
I'm not afraid of mistakes. I love making mistakes.
We're going to get into that. Okay, so before we get too much further, the name of the podcast, the concept, right, is Dumb Dumb Dojo, right? So this is the idea of I'm a dum-dum. I'm not confident in anything that I know, right? Like, this is not a podcast where I'm fucking standing on some fucking soapbox and I'm preaching a way of life or a methodology that I know is perfect. No, none of that stuff. This is about me learning new things and confronting my insecurities and shining lights on the stuff that I'm, like I said, insecure about or I want to get better at, and robbing those things of their power so I can get better at them, so I can conquer them. And speaking to people who I look up to, like yourself, picking their brains about motivation and chasing goals and et cetera, et cetera. And so with that said, tell us who you are and how I know you, how we know each other.
Okay. Well, I'm Charlie.
Yes.
Also known as BLK BOK.
Yes.
Also known as Charlie Prince.
Yes.
I am a musical director, pianist, composer, all that good music stuff. But I know you from... Where did we meet?
Oh, wait, hang on. If you don't actually remember, then this is fun because I remember the story, but I was hoping that it would be more fun for you to tell it. This is my wonderful friend, Charlie Prince Wilson, a.k.a. BLK BOK, a.k.a. The Frequency. A.k.a. also, your Instagram right now is at Wilson Charles Official. Is that right?
Yep.
There was an artist who I came across, and Charlie was tagged in the post as the musical director and the piano player. And I hit up Charlie in the DMs and said, hey, man, I love the shit that you do. You're a dope musician. If there's anything I can ever help you with, if I can throw some guitar down on something, let me know. And we orchestrated a meetup. I don't remember. Oh, and then you know what it was? We met at the Mint. We saw that artist perform. And I was just stoked, man. I was just excited. Like, hey, here's, another dope musician in LA doing something. At this point now, I just know that you're a dope musician from Instagram. I don't know anything about like the people you've played with or your experience and your the career that you've built so far. And then so we started talking like, tell me about your background and stuff. So tell us a little about your background, Charlie.
Started playing piano at age 4, only classical music up until age 16. Started playing jazz at 16, which took me into college. Dropped out of college after 2.5 years.
Did you go to college for music?
Yeah.
And then what happened at music school? Because I also went to college for music. It didn't work out for me either.
Listen, they totally I'm not going to throw any school up under the bus.
Me neither.
But I'll say,
yeah.
When I first got to the school, I've been playing classical music my whole life. They didn't have a teacher who could teach me there. So they hired a teacher at the college in the city down the street, but they never paid him. So he couldn't. So then I started paying for my lesson, a college kid paying for piano lessons. Really?
Yeah.
And then I came into the office and I was like, hey, you haven't played him. I haven't had lessons this long. They said, oh, well, you're going to have to be here 6.5 years to graduate.
I'm out. Yeah. What am I paying
and I'm
for?
out,
Yeah.
I'm out. So I went to Full Sail, got a degree in recording engineering. Maybe 6 months after that, got my first tour, which was Justin Timberlake, Justified.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And Justified led to Backstreet Boys' Never Gone tour, which led to my first music directing gig was with Sierra.
Oh, wow.
For Goodies.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it was crazy. Dude, and I totally blew it. I totally...
Can't wait to get into that.
I messed it up, but I fixed it.
Uh-huh.
It was great. It was great. It was the best save.
We're going to get into it.
Yeah. So Sierra, and then after that was back with Justin for Future Sex Love Sound.
Okay.
Rihanna for the end of Good Girl Gone Bad. John Mayer, Battle Studies.
Oh, yes, that's right. Fuck. Okay, so if we can pause there for a second, right? Battle Studies is my second favorite album of all time, of every album ever, right? Second only to The Roots, How I Got Over. I don't even know if it's my favorite John Mayer album, but it's my second favorite album of all time. This is, at this point, I think I'm a year or two out of music school. I had a little bit of experience jamming, but I don't think that I certainly wasn't the musician that I am now, but my understanding of feel and the intangibles of what it is to be on stage with 6 other dudes and lock eyes, because we're all gonna be a little bit late on the downbeat of this one because we've this is just the part of the song where we do that, right? Little unspoken or even spoken things like this, which I had no concept of, right? I just liked hearing John Mayer play. You guys went to Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone. You guys did the Bill Withers cover. And I remember, even with my limited knowledge of just group dynamics of a live band, feeling the the push and pull of like when you guys would be early on certain hits and when you guys would be like laying back on certain hits, and hearing how that dynamic would shift in like during the song, right? Like you'd ramp up for the bridge and then like all of a sudden every snare hits a little bit early. And as a member of this 18,000 person crowd in the Staples Center, you feel this like urgency and the momentum. And like, even if you can't put your finger on it because you know that those snare hits are early or whatever, you feel it in the audience, right? And I remember just sitting there being dumbfounded. And turns the fuck out, my friend Charlie was on that stage playing keys on that tour. And I was up in like the 300s nosebleeds, right? Like every seat in Staples is kind of a nosebleed unless you have $25,000. But I remember that show so vividly, and it's to date one of my favorite concerts. And to know that you were on that stage, me watching that makes me so happy, dude. Like, what a fucking small world.
What an amazing world that we were able to be connected in this way, you know? Like, to me, that's the best part, is like to be able to, you know, aside from the tour, be able to connect with you just homie to homie, and just on that level, and even be able to talk about that. And you tell me that story, like I said, was it at Hollywood Bowl? You know, like, you were like, no, Staples. And I'm like, oh, now it shoots me back to that memory of, oh man, I remember that show. I remember that. That was such a good day, like a good time. Like, I
had Timberlake and Mayer written down. Anybody else that you worked with that you want to touch on? Or
Rihanna.
Oh, that's right.
The Loud tour.
Is this the tour? Do I remember seeing like images of you on a fucking grand piano, like up in the air?
Floating in the air.
Okay, tell me all about that.
Okay, so this is a funny thing about that whole little gag.
Fuck, that's wild, dude.
When they brought out, they said, we're going to do Love the Way You Lie, but we're going to have the piano, you're going to play the piano, and then it's on this riser. This riser goes up 50 feet, and then during the middle part of the song, it starts to turn and twist. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm with it. You know, me and Rihanna, 50 feet in the air every night. So where do I sign? You know what I mean? Oh. But when they brought it out, dude, the weirdest thing was they had a seatbelt on the fucking, like the piano bench had a seatbelt on it. I'm not wearing this. Like, the first thing I'm like, yo, bro, lose the seatbelt. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to put on.
If you lose the seatbelt, you might lose your spinal cord.
But it doesn't matter. If I fall off this thing with Rihanna on it, I'm the most epic person to ever die. Like, I'm cool with that death. Like, 50 feet in the air.
Yeah.
In breaking news, right. Rihanna and piano player fall down. I'm cool with that. And that's another thing. The fear. I wasn't afraid of it ever. I wasn't afraid of ever being that high and being not strapped down and actually playing and being effective and moving around on the fucking thing. I wasn't afraid of it. I was just like, this is a great moment and I want to live in this moment. And every time I played it, I was there. I showed up. I was, present, staying present. I was so present in that moment. And to me, it's one of the few things that I can remember about that tour every night, and that having that rush, dude, of being in that position and just being present within that song, and like even beating on the piano and like hyping Rhea up. So she would feel it. Like if I hit the piano, she would feel it and it would hype her up. And I'm like, yeah. So it was just a cool moment.
In the spirit of full disclosure, were you actually playing the piano, or was it like a track? How do they mic it 50 feet up in the air?
No, it was a shell. It was a shell with a keyboard in it.
Oh, I see. So the keys are like a MIDI controller, but it looks like a big old grand piano.
Exactly.
Did you have much experience like in like the teenage years or like the coming up years of like the touring in vans, or like we're gonna, sell t-shirts for $10 and that's hopefully gonna give us gas the next, like your first touring experience was fucking Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Wow, that is magnificent. What is it like having a stadium tour be the first thing you ever do? If you do Madison Square Garden in your first 16 tour dates, you're going to be all right at anything else that's not Madison Square Garden.
Exactly. This is kind of weird. It's not actually good all the time.
Sure.
Because now that you're thinking on a level of stadium, when you have to squash back down and think of, okay, we're playing the Peppermint Club.
Right.
You're kind of like, damn it, I can't do all these creative things in my mind, all these creations and all these things that I'm thinking of and how this should go. And this should be connected to video and this should be connected to pyro and this and that and the other. And you're like, nah, that ain't it, homie.
Yeah.
You're back in the garage.
Right.
You know, like, so in a way, having that stadium tour first was great because it was, I was prepared. I was ready. When I tell you, I was so ready. This is one of the stories a lot of people don't know. I used to watch Janet Jackson All For You tour like every day. I had it on VHS. I used to watch it every day and I knew everybody on that tour.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, I know Ethan Farmer. Like, I didn't know these people personally,
Sure.
but from watching this thing, I was like, oh, Brian Fraser and Ethan Farmer and Julie Delgado and Morris Pleasure. I knew all these people and these names.
These are her band members.
And these are her band members. And I'm like, wow, this is so dope. This is what I want to do. Fast forward, I have shared the stage with every person.
Oh my God, that's huge. That's crazy.
I have been on tour with Brian and Ethan. I have been on tour with Julie Delgado. Morris Pleasure is a good friend. Like, all these people that I looked up to became my peers.
Yeah.
So it was very important during those developmental stages to kind of set the intention mentally and like spiritually, to set the intention.
Dude.
That's what I want to do. And every time I watched it, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And when it came the moment, it was just delivered. It landed on me. You know, it was like I was ready. And even from being on my first tour, a lot of people said, dude, you tour like a veteran. You don't tour like you're green. I'm like, because I was ready.
Right. Okay. So that is something I have written down, is green/rookie shit. Right.
Yeah.
And then at this,
I didn't do no rookie shit.
You might have fucked the segment up because this is the point where I'm going to cut in the rookie shit theme song. I don't know what the rookie shit theme song is going to be yet, but there's going to be a rookie shit theme song. It's going to go here.
Okay.
Get your shit together. You got to get your shit together.
So what I'm looking for though are like rookie shit mistakes. The concept of like a fuck up that you did that taught you a lesson that reduced your greenness, right? That reduced that made you feel like less of a rookie after the fact. Cause I have so many rookie shit mistakes where like it gives me the cringe chills when I think about like, I could have done that so much better. I could have handled that so much more professionally. And I didn't, and I got to live with that. Yeah. And now somebody has a real embarrassing story about me out there, but it's also part of my history, right? And I've learned lessons from that. So if you would give me an example, if you've got any of some rookie shit that you got up to before.
Okay, rookie shit. This is a great one. John Mayer. Okay. First day of rehearsal for Battle Studies.
Okay.
I was under the assumption that every musical director worked the same way. I worked for Kevin Antunes for years. Usually within our first day, our first 2 days, we're kind of dialing in sounds and kind of there's no one actually playing. We're not into the songs yet. Nope. Not with John Mayer and Steve Jordan as a musical director.
Wow.
No. Come in first 15 minutes. Let's start playing songs.
Wow.
So I was not as prepared. I was prepared, but I wasn't as prepared as I should have been, because I was in the frame of mind that this is going to be a day of kind of introducing everybody, getting to know each other, us kind of dialing in, getting, ear mixes and everything together. And then we kind of dismiss and come back in fresh the next day and start actually doing work. No. This was work day one, 15 minutes after everyone showed up. Hey, I'm this, I'm him. Everybody straps up and they start playing. Wow. Really, really different scenario. And like I said, I feel, I made it through. It wasn't like they fired me.
Yeah, of course.
But I wanted to be better prepared, and I was not as prepared as I thought I should have been. And that will never, ever happen to me ever again. Like, now I over prepare.
Yeah.
Like, I know the whole gig before I actually come into the first day of rehearsal.
Did you feel like, if you can, take me back to like how you felt in your skin in that moment, right? Because for me personally, I can remember moments just like that where it's like, fuck, I think the bridge goes to, it changes to Be Here, but is it that other song or no, I have it. It's my bad. Well, I'll get it again. And then the feeling of everybody looking at you like,
yeah, yep,
this motherfucker.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, I hate it. I can't have that feeling. You
know what? It's one of those things, I think, as every musician that I know has been through that.
Yeah.
Every one of them. I can't honestly say there's one musician I know that just had it all figured out every time.
Sure.
And what's ironic about that is that you feel that pressure while you're going through that situation, and you think that everyone's looking at you like, oh, you're just a fuck up. Like
Everybody else is worried about
but in actuality,
their bridge. Yeah.
They're worried about their bridge. And they're like, oh shit, you know, and musicians at a certain level want to play the song right. So they're okay with stopping it and getting you to fix it because we all want to do it right.
Right.
So it becomes like this team effort, you know, and maybe you might be the weakest link in the team, but everyone in the team wants to be strong as a whole.
Sure.
And therefore the patience level is a lot higher. Like I thought everybody was like, oh, he's just a complete fuck up, but it wasn't like that at all. Everyone was like, you know, he's the new guy.
I mean, surely there are varying degrees of patience with certain musicians and different personalities and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but the ones that are just like super douchey, like
they don't stick around anyways, right? Like they don't get phone calls.
Off. Yeah, go somewhere. Like
that kind of touches on a second thing that you and I have spoken about a zillion times, but the idea that like I don't think I've ever gotten a gig because I'm the best player in the room, or I was like the most qualified on a motor skills and technicality level because I ain't never gonna be that guy. But with the level of proficiency that I do have on the instrument, and then the other intangibles, like contrary to popular belief, I'm not insufferable to be around for 6 weeks at a time in a van. So talk to me about that. Like in your experience, what gets you the gig and what helps you keep it?
What gets you the gig is who you are.
Right.
You know, like you said, your ability to function within a group, within a family. Like there are a lot of musicians that I know who are great. They're freaking phenomenal musicians. They can play, but they're just not, you just don't want to hang around them too long.
They don't take direction well, or it's like,
they don't take direction well, or they're just like arrogant, or, you know, they're so good that they think they're so good. And that doesn't matter.
No,
you know, at the end of the day, nobody cares how good you are. You know, at the end of the day, can you play this part and can you kill it every night?
Right.
You know, so another thing that I've come to find in my career, and this was the part that developed, like I looked at a video of myself, my first gig with Justin, which was Jay Leno playing Like I Love You.
I hope there's a big old fucking close up of you doing your thing. Are you wearing sunglasses?
It's kind of me in the left. No, it's me in the left-hand corner with long dreads and kind of like really stiff
you
movement.
Used to have hair?
Yeah, I used to have a lot of hair, dude.
Dang.
My hair was longer than your hair, dude.
No way.
Yeah,
I'm really excited to see this clip. Okay, this is going to be fun. They say so shiny, but it doesn't matter anyway. All right, so continue.
Yep.
Leno.
So Leno was one of the places where I began to realize that there was another skill. The skill was not necessarily being a musician, but the skill was being an entertainer. And they are actually two separate things.
Sure.
You can be a great musician, but not be an entertainer.
Sure.
You can be a subpar musician, but be a great entertainer.
Absolutely.
So these two things had their separate worlds.
Right.
And then what I realized was that, okay, let me work on this one. Let me work on how I'm entertaining. Like I always tell people, half of your audience is blind, half your audience is deaf. So you have to make sure as an entertainer, you are showing up for the people who are listening, as well as showing up for the people who are just watching.
Right.
And so many times as I refine the skill of being an entertainer, taking the time to sit my keyboard in front of a mirror and say, okay, this thing is pretty stationary. How can I make it exciting? And going down that sort of path to figure out what makes being a keyboard player exciting. The more I discovered, the more I got feedback from audiences. Like, it's cool. We saw, we were at Rihanna concert, but we watched you the whole time because you were so crazy. Like you're going crazy on the keyboard.
When did you start doing I don't know what you'd even call it, but like how you tilt the whole board like forward?
Yeah. Inspired by my boy, Kevin Hastings. Like we toured together with Rihanna, Good Girl Going Bad. And he's such an innovative, wonderful, beautiful soul. And the first time he did it, I was like, dude, that's freaking cool. Let's do it. Matter of fact, he's such an epic dude that Gibraltar has a stand called the Key Tree, which he helped design. There's a level where people are watching you. They're watching your hand. They're watching your body. They're watching your face. They're watching your expression. They're watching everything that's going, how it's all connecting, how you're telling the story. not just that you're telling a story, but how you're telling a story.
Sure.
You know, all of those things are important. And that's, to me, the X factor. That was the X factor that kept me employed.
So what happened on Leno?
Oh, yeah. Specifically, that's when it started. I watched back, watching myself on stage, I was like, I look really stiff.
Oh, so you were saying you watched your Leno performance and you're like, oh, I'm not moving around enough.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I look weird. Like, I look uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I look like I'm playing all the right notes, but I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, and more than anything, as I developed more of being an entertainer, I realized that it required more of me. It required me to be in better health, in better shape.
Sure.
Like, a lot of times we would go to places like Denver with high elevations.
Oh, dude, fuck it.
Fuck me, there's a curb. You can't tell because there's snow there. The pioneers are a bunch of dipshits.
If I'm high functioning, you know, sweating at song one, high functioning throughout a whole set, you know, now I'm at a higher elevation doing the same thing, thinner air. All these things came into, then it became a whole physicality thing. Like, okay, am I taking care of my legs? Am I taking care of my arms? How am I preparing myself? Do I stretch before I go out? Yes. Do I, like, everything became this ritual. So when we fast forward to like Michael Jackson Immortal, before I would go on stage, I knew how physical playing Michael's songs were. So it was like, as soon as I get on stage, I start stretching. I hear the intro for the song. You know, I sit down, I take this many deep breaths before we actually start. Before I hear my first slate to start, mentally, physically, emotionally ready.
Dude, how much time was there between when you guys did Leno and when you guys actually went out on the road?
The first performance that we did that was like actually out was the Brit Awards, which is a funny story because getting my passport was pretty exciting.
I love it. So what happened? Was this the first time you needed a passport?
I lived in Detroit still. It's the first time I needed a passport, and I needed it quickly.
Yeah, you got the job and you got to go.
In Detroit, there's no passport agency. Yeah, so I had to go to Chicago. I drove to Chicago with my sister and her mother and her aunt. My stepsister.
Dude,
and
hang on, wait. Tell me about the road trip. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is that feeling like? All right. We're piling into the car because Charlie's got to get a fucking passport because he's going to go be a fucking musician. Yeah. He's going to go be a marauder somewhere. You know what I mean? Like what is that, that sense of adventure like? You know,
it was exactly that, an adventure. It was like, wow, we're going to do this.
We got to go to the city. We got to make sure that we do this right. Like,
it was amazing. So her mom and her aunt, they wanted to go shopping. So we went to passport agency first. I filled out all the paperwork. The guy told me come back later in the day to pick up the passport. So no problem. They went shopping. And while we were shopping, we came back to where the car was parked and it was gone. The car was gone.
Did it get stolen or get towed?
Like, it got completely towed. And I had like a half an hour to get to the passport office.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't make it. So we ended up going to like Walmart and getting toothbrushes and like staying overnight in Chicago and getting a hotel and staying overnight and then going to the passport office in the morning and picking it up. So it was like a whole adventure even to get my passport. But it was my first performance, my first time in London.
Wow. Was it the first gig with Justin?
No, it wasn't. The first gig with Justin was Leno.
Wow. Oh, fuck that noise. Absolutely not. So your first performance with this artist, who happens to be at the time one of the biggest artists in the world, and it's live. Oh, my skin is fucking crawling. I don't have the testicles for it. Like, obviously I would do it.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, I would do it and I would show up and I
would kill it. Yeah.
I would do my best to kill it. But just even thinking about it, the nerves, like I'm getting them with a watery mouth just because so much of what I think about in my head is, hey, don't fuck up, which is such a terrible mindset when you're playing music. It's such an obstacle of a mindset.
Absolutely. Can I change that mindset?
You can do your best. If I could change the mindset, I would, but
fuck up. No, the mindset is, please fuck up. I want to fuck up. I want to make more mistakes. Because every time I make a mistake, I figure out how not to make that mistake.
Yeah, that would be nice if I would stop making the same mistakes.
You just got to keep bumping your head until you learn how to not bump it anymore. You know, what makes the survivor is the guy that gets knocked down 10 times and gets up 10 times.
See, that's a completely valid point. However, the things that I've complained to you about outside of music, aka women shit, would lead you to believe that I continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over. And though I may show the resilience of like a 6th round boxer, right? It's just like, nah, dude, he keeps coming with the right cross and you just keep leaning into it. So maybe you can see that right cross coming. Anyways.
But that's what you're supposed to do, dude.
Sure.
Keep leaning into that cross until you figure out how not to lean into that motherfucker.
Do you have any big, like, I did a big old, like a fart of a note at the United Center.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Bro, are you kidding me?
Give me an example of like 17,000 people just heard that.
MJ Immortal, right?
For people who aren't familiar, can you talk about what MJ Immortal was?
Okay, so Michael Jackson Immortal is the sister show to Michael Jackson 1, which is still here in Las Vegas. But it was it was the show that Michael was creating before his death with Cirque du Soleil. And it was a full acrobatic show. No person that's imitating Michael, which was cool because I thought that was kind of cheesy to have someone
pretending to do
It was based around the original audio from his masters on all of his songs.
Wow.
So taking the stems, once again, working with Kevin Antunes, he took the stems and he created a brand new version of the songs.
Wow.
You know, so it was really, really cool, really innovative.
It's like you're playing with Michael Jackson.
It's
like,
literally playing with Michael Jackson.
Oh,
you know, I would tell the monitor engineer, turn Michael up, turn Michael up, turn Michael up. I need to hear what he's doing. Every day it was like, you know, pop music 101 college, like I learned something new.
Wow.
The stuff that's going on, these are circus performers. And a lot of what they're doing is synced to what they hear.
Okay.
So you can't really mess up.
But you guys aren't playing to a click though, right?
Yeah, we are.
So I was always under the impression that like with Cirque du Soleil shows, and because you mentioned that there's actors doing like and acrobats doing physical stuff, that anytime it was like an orchestral thing like that, or anytime you're working with like live performers like that, your downbeats, your hits sometimes are like when they land on the floor, right? So how do you reconcile those like playing to a click or a metronome with that kind of a thing? Or is it kind of both?
It's that they know where it is. Because the click is there, they know it's the same spot every time.
So
it's
the
same spot
performers,
every
the
night.
acrobats are also like, I know how long it's going to take me to fall.
Actually syncing their movements to what you're doing. So it's a lot of pressure. You can't mess it up.
There's a lot of moving parts.
And listen, at one point I made a very small, like one note, one note, one rhythm mistake. And one of the performers, his name is Igor. He performs where he puts this thing in his mouth and he hangs from the ceiling by his jaw and he spins around really fast by his mouth. And then he goes down and picks up another performer and they spin around together by his mouth. Dang. Unreal. So you don't want to mess this up because if this guy hears the wrong thing and he opens his mouth, blam, you know? So like I said, after one performance, he says, yeah, you know, you missed, you know, and in his Russian accent, he tells me that I missed a note. And I'm like, fuck, you heard that? And he was like, yeah, I heard that. Don't do it anymore. I was like, oh shit.
My bad, bro.
You know, but bigger mistake, Michael Jackson Immortal.
Okay.
And at the end, I'm going to make the Man in the Mirror. Last song in the set is Man in the Mirror. So there's a section where it's kind of like a stride piano gospel sort of. It's like this it's like this big, like only piano. It's just snaps in the piano for like 8 bars. It's just me.
Okay.
And Greg Fillinganes wrote this thing. So everybody who knows who Greg Fillinganes is, it's difficult. It's not easy. And one night I started that section and I missed a note. And then I missed another note.
Oh, no.
And the background singers were standing right in front of me and they kind of did this move.
No, please turn back around, please.
And I missed another note and then I recovered it and then I missed another note.
Oh, no.
And I just did this. I just put my hands up in the head and just said, I ain't got it. I ain't got it tonight. I ain't got it. By this time, the whole cast, all the acrobats, they're supposed to be taking their bows. They're taking their bows, but then they're like doing like this shit. Like, look, everybody, look, it was... You know what? And we got back to the dressing room and me and all the musicians were in tears laughing.
Oh, okay. It was cool.
Like it's cool.
Yeah.
It's okay to mess up. You're not perfect. We're human.
Yeah.
The human factor is what makes the show great. You know, think about it. If I played it correctly 99 times, that one time doesn't mean shit to me.
Right.
Like,
can you think of any specific being on the road story of like oh shit, this is the big leagues? I wanna get into the, and then I'm gonna see, this is where it's gonna get fun, because if I decide to bleep this out, then I'm gonna bleep it out. I would really love to talk about the time you were on a private jet with somebody, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you're having a discussion about
We're not allowed, no, to tell this story.
I remember I was in talks to get a gig, right? Like, and this, I was young. I was like 18, 19. Actually, you know what? I think I was 17. And this was in the era of MySpace. And there was an artist, a dude who was like a singer-songwriter who I really liked. And I hit him up because he was looking for a guitar player. And his management dug me. He dug me. I went over to his house, played him a couple of the songs. He was getting ready to do a tour of Canada. And the conversation left with like, cool, man, like give me a couple of days, we'll figure it out. Then we'll start talking about like getting you a passport or not a passport, a travel visa or something like that, because I wasn't 18, or a work visa or something to that effect. So I left feeling real good about having the job. And so I went home and started telling people I got the job and I got this and that, and I'm going to be touring Canada. And I was fucking so excited to brag and show off. And it got back to the artist that I was celebrating early, and I didn't have anything to celebrate yet because I didn't sign. Like I didn't have the job yet. And then I got a call from his management. They were like, hey, we weren't really, we still have a couple of things to figure out with that. Like, so before you start telling people this and that, like keep it on the hush. So like, for me, it came out of excitement. It came out of, I want to share this thing that I'm doing, and I'm so excited that I get to do this thing, and I want to talk about it. I want to tell the world. But the professional lesson I learned that day was, I'm not going to talk about a gig until I got the plane, until I'm on the plane, until I'm at the gate, getting ready to get on the plane to go to the gig.
absolutely. And I've had that experience too.
Did you?
It was Justin Timberlake. I got hired and fired in a week.
So was this the last tour you did with him?
No, this was, I did Future Sex Love Sound.
I don't know the chronology. So it was Justified.
So Justified, Future Sex.
Then it was the 2020 experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. 2020. So I was got hired for 2020.
Uh-huh.
I got a call from his manager and we talked. I'd known Dre forever. And he was like, yeah, we're getting ready to get going again. Jay wants you here. Like, it's done. It's like, okay, cool. So I'm thinking, cool, new tour. Love it. A week later, I get the call from the same person. He says, yeah, so, Jay is using another musical director, because Kevin is out, and they decided that they wanted to use his people and this and that and the other. So, unfortunately, so it is what it is.
Damn.
So it's kind of a strange feeling when you're like, yeah, there's new opportunities, new door is open. Right. And then a week later it gets slammed in your face. But it's fine because, that's the way life is. Like, you have to be accepting of whatever the circumstances are. Sure. When things come to you, what's yours is yours. What's not yours is not yours. It's just that simple, and that same year, I got hired as musical director for Demi Lovato. So, like months later, like 2 months later, you win some, you lose some, and that was a new adventure and a new exciting thing within itself. Oh. You're really not on the gig until you're actually playing it.
Sure. Because
I've seen people get on a flight and come to the gig and play one show and then get sent home.
Oh man.
I've seen that happen before.
I've known that
so
to happen.
You're not really, as far as these gigs are concerned, dude, it's not a very, and this is part of the reason why Black BOK was even created, because I realized and recognized within my own career that I was out of control. I had no control of what was going on. I got caught up in the Rihanna, Chris Brown thing. We were going to go over tour. We were going overseas, and that all got canceled. And through the years, I've always been like, I need more control. I need to control my own destiny more. I feel like I'm a great enough musician to control my own destiny. Sure. And that's why, my own compositions and my own writing and my own album are happening right now.
That's what I'm coming around to. I mean, especially now in COVID times, right? Of like, I can keep waiting around for somebody to call and ask if I want to go on tour with them. And the answer is a 1,000,000% fuck yes. Get me the fuck out of here. But that phone call might not be happening for a while, and coming to terms with the fact of, whilst waiting for that phone call, I got to be doing something else. I got to be building something for myself that I don't have to wait for somebody to give me the green light for, right?
Right.
It clicked for me a while back, and it's still something that I'm struggling with as I move about my life now. But like, I'm trying to wrap my head around more just this idea of doing the work. And I don't like the Philadelphia Sixers, but trusting the process of all right, cool. If I want to get good at this thing, I got to do the thing. I have to practice the thing that I'm shitty at to get better at it.
Absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by my friends at Fromunda. Listen, I don't know you, I don't know how you live your life, but I can say this confidently. If you are one of the 49.2% of American humans who have testicles, sometimes those testicles get hot. That's where my friends at Fromunda come in. This is an amazing all-natural body powder that'll keep your balls feeling fresh and comfortable all day. This stuff is talc-free, paraben-free, certified vegan, and made with no artificial colors or synthetic fragrances. But it gets better. This is a made in the USA product. This company's coming at you from Anthem, Arizona, so you're supporting American businesses. And here's my favorite part. No animal testing and no animal byproducts. And we love that about it, right? Because rabbits shouldn't have to experience pain so that I can feel pretty. And best of all, Fromunda donates 10% of their profits to the Sean Kimmerling Testicular Cancer Foundation. I've personally been using the Woody formula. This is cedarwood and tea tree, and fantastic work on the dick pun, by the way, gentlemen. Really good stuff. I've used this for a really long time. I've used this for years. People have consistently told me how much my dick and balls smell like a national park. And that kind of consistency in this otherwise unpredictable world is really special. You know what I mean? Because you never know. You're out there living your life. You meet somebody nice. One thing leads to another thing, leads to some riveting conversation, leads to some fellatio, right? And you find yourself in the parking lot of your local breakfast cafe, and you plop that big fat American dick out, and all of a sudden, oh my God, is this Yellowstone National Park? No. But I got Old Faithful for you. You're about to see Old Faithful, right? You understand? Talking about dicks. I throw it on before I hit the stage or work out or fucking walk to my mailbox because it's 97 degrees every single day in Los Angeles. And I got the hookup for you guys. Fromunda is offering you dum-dums 15% off your entire purchase when you use the code DOJO at checkout. Head to fromunda.com, that's FROMONDA.com, and use the promo code DOJO, DOJO, for 15% off your whole purchase. Tell them your boy Darth Whiskey sent you. Pick up some powder for your balls. Stay fresh. Stay ready. Stay ready for anything. Paid assassins, mercenaries, cardio, hoes. Give me some other early musical, like, oof, what the fuck is this? I need this. I want to do this.
I remember being in my room and I was working out. I was doing like push-ups and shit like that. And right before I went on tour, it was right after I graduated from college. I went back. I just moved back home to Detroit, and Justified had just come. Like I Love You had just come out, and I was watching it. And I was like, whoa, this song is so cool. This video is so cool. Like, I love this. And I was never an NSYNC fan. I wasn't in the boy bands.
Right.
So I didn't know one NSYNC song.
Right.
But I knew this Justin Timberlake song called Like I Love You. And I loved it. I loved the video. I loved everything about it. I was connected so heavily with it. And I just remember being like, damn, this song is so cool. 6 months later.
Dude. So how did you get that gig? How did that phone call happen? How did
that phone call happen from me living in Orlando? I was rehearsing at Epcot Center, and next door, the NSYNC band was rehearsing. I took it upon myself to just go next door and just introduce myself to everybody. I met Kevin Antunes. I met Troy Antunes. I met Paul Howards. I met all these guys that were like NSYNC, the NSYNC musicians. Yeah, family. And I, at the time, Kevin lived, I think, in Boston still. And he was just moving to Orlando. So, I keep in touch with him. Congratulations on moving to Orlando. Congratulations on your new kid, man. Hope all is well with you. Just kept in touch with him. And he really liked my talent. He really liked, who I was as a pianist. Like, I was practicing while everybody was out on lunch. And he happened just to walk by the door. And he stuck his head and he said, hey, dude, that's you playing? know me imitating his voice.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, did you playing that? What stuff? Yeah, that's me. Okay, cool. And he took my number and we stayed in touch.
That's awesome.
When it came to it, like I said, I had just graduated. I was back in Orlando. I just happened to come back to Orlando to work with this hip hop group that I will produce called Soliloquistic Sound. Shout out to Soliloquistic Sound. Da Vinci, who's a mastermind, and Alex and Tanya and Swanberger, all my old fam. And I was down working with them, and I got a call from Kevin. He says, hey, why don't you come by my house? And I came by his house, and we sat down, and we went in the studio, and we played a bunch, and we started programming.
At this time, did you know you might be up for the gig? You didn't know nothing about a gig. You just like coming over to this dude's house to jam a little bit.
I came over to his house to jam.
And he's primarily a keys player as well, right?
He's a keys player as well. So one of the things we ended up working on was programming for, you know, that little synth at the end of Like I Love You? When it goes, boop, 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 boop. That's what started all. That riff started my career.
Wow. That's
like we sat there
wild.
and we programmed and tried to tweak out and see if we could match that sound for like an hour or so. And then at the end, we were just like, why don't we just sample it?
Drums. There's like a classic, I think it was a live DVD of like the Timberlake band in Paris. There was some song that you guys transitioned to, and then you guys did Zeppelin instead, or like the Immigrant Song or something like that.
Yes.
They say there's some things I better left unsaid. Yeah. It wasn't like you only talked to me, and you know it. Don't act like you don't know it. Things people told me keep messing with my head. Should have been honest, even you may not have known.
Yeah, that's a magnificent performance. I had a buddy named Mark Furs. Shout out to Mark. What's up, dude? And I remember just us hunched over his laptop in his apartment, just watching, again, like what a live band could be. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
My context for live music and like bands was rock, right? So Guns N' Roses, Megadeth, Metallica, all this like generic suburban white kid music. And then so when I started seeing that it doesn't have to be two distorted guitars and like, you know, was so inspiring, man.
You're saying two distorted guitars. And what's crazy about that is that I had a whole pedal board under the Rhodes. Fender Rhodes was like the brain of it all.
Okay.
But then there was a Nord lead and two like some rolling gear, some
tell me what that's
some
like.
chord gear. Like it was a bunch of other stuff.
Talk to me about what it's like
being surrounded by keyboards.
No, I mean being at the level where you can be like, all right, I need two on this side, I need one here, and if we can make this one angle this way and da-da-da. Like, what is it like being able to fucking flex your dick a little bit and be like, hey, big dog needs some dope shit?
It's crafting. It's an artistic thing. It's crafting the way that you want your performances to feel every day. How do you want it to, what tools?
Obviously, this is going to vary from gig to gig, but like your leeway, like your freedom to be able to be like, all right, hey, I'm going to throw in a wah pedal. Like if you decided that in the middle of Senorita, right, like you're going to do a wah pedal thing instead. And if you just decided to do that on a Tuesday night, would that be the kind of thing that would turn heads and be like, hey, what are you doing? Or would that be kind of like you did, okay, that's interesting. Talk about the balance of like feeling secure enough. Like, how do you know when to try that shit and when to be like, nah, I'm going to be cool?
Okay. So this is one thing that I know about, and this is one of the things that has helped keep me employed as well.
Sure.
This is a big one. I know my role. When I get on stage, my role is not to be the virtuoso pianist. No way, shape, or form am I there to be just the show-off guy,
right,
and try to flip and turn and change everything that's going on. So if in the middle of Senorita, I decide to throw in a wah, it's going to turn heads immediately, right, because Justin is not looking to hear that sound. But if there's a spot where I can play something really cool, real quick and cool, that was my own thing. Quick and cool.
Oh, dude, that's my favorite part of playing with you.
We got a little spot. Quick and cool. That's it. And I'm back in the pocket. One of the things that Mayer loved about me was that I never overstep. I give you just enough to walk on. I give you just enough that you can and then it's up to him. He has all the freedom in the world to dance and do all these things because he's John Mayer and he can play all his shit. Sure. And, it's his time for freedom. It's not my time to be showing off how much skill I got. it's my time to give him a great platform, a great surface to stand on. Every once in a while you hear something and you hear a spot and you get him motivated, and you know, you're a musician, so you might play something real cool. And and most times if you're using discretion, when you do step up and do something, it catches people's attention because they're used to your discretion. So when you play something cool, they're like, oh shit. Oh, everybody hears it and kind of like, that's cool.
It makes me laugh because I can think of moments when you and I have played together, right? Where we'd be playing a song together and you mentioned, how did you put it a second ago? Like short and cool, something like that?
Yeah. Quick and cool, right? And there's a song you came up on the fly with like a, hey, let's do a riff. In these moments, right, where you're like, all right, something quick and cool. The energy and the excitement of like, hey, here's a thing. I'm throwing this at you, pal. Pick this up in 5 minutes, please. Pick this up in 2 seconds, please. Here's the riff, right? And then when the whole band nails it, it elevates a song, a performance, the energy level of a thing to a new thing. Right. And then second point being like, I would hear moments where like, all right, cool, I'm going to do my own thing. Not necessarily my own thing, but like, I'm going to slide into this note rather than just land on the downbeat. Right. And because you're usually the person that writes the music or like has arranged the music, produced the music, you know what's supposed to be there and what's not supposed to be there. Or like, here's examples. If I would choose to play like a minor 7 as opposed to just the minor, you'd be like, hey pal, what are you doing on the thing there? Are you, no, okay, let's just maybe keep it the minor. And I'm like, yep, okay, that's one. My bad. Okay, there's one. But then there have been moments too where you're like, what is that? Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's go with that. That's cool. That's cool. That's great.
You know, that working those kinds of things out and finding that level of comfortability is what has, you know, made me have so much fun playing with you and why I enjoy playing with you so much. Is that we speak that same language and we catch on to we like similar motifs and things like that, right? So dude, again, another reason I love playing with you and I miss playing with you, dude.
That's one of the things that I love about being a musical director is being able to, I feel like when you're a musical director, you're just kind of the conductor. You're just the guy that allows the ideas to flow. The best musical directors can allow the ideas to flow. And you can add the 7 and I can say, yeah, no, I don't like that one. Right. Or you can add the 7 sometime and I'm like, dude, that's cold. Right. Let's keep it. Everybody add the 7.
Right.
You know, like to be able to have that flow of ideas, especially like I said, working with artists is like, I'm not there to create my vision. I'm there to enhance their vision. So in enhancing their vision, I'm just one person. And I always say that my way is just my way. Sure. It's not the way, it's just my way. And to have, you know, as a musical director, I love to surround myself with musicians like you because you are innovative. You are creative. You come with great ideas. Every time I start with a band, what do I say? Dude, this is our thing. This ain't my thing. Right. This is our thing. So feel free. If you have an idea, voice your idea. Your idea may be better than the one that I'm thinking about or better than the one that the drummer's thinking about, sure. You know, or it may be an idea that's not necessarily good now, but may fit, you know, 6 months from now when we're doing a remix we're doing some medley of these songs. So, you know, it's that fair exchange of ideas that makes my job as a musical director so exciting. Like I love transferring ideas. I love to hear what other people think. I love that. Like I love that energy exchange. So like I said, that's why it's always cool working with you, dude, because not only are you a good person, a good dude, like you just have great energy. You have great ideas, you know, you show up, you know, you get it done. You have a great positive attitude about getting it done. You know, even if I say, dude, don't put it in 7, then you're not like, oh man, well, fuck you, you know, because I've seen that before. You're not that guy. So that's what makes it exciting and cool and fun.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot, especially again, because I look up to you so much.
It's always important that you always show up and bring your A game. Like for years and years and years, I have a great reputation and I protect it with everything. Sure. I don't let anybody tell me that I don't show up. I get on stage, and when I get on stage, I'm there. I'm present. I'm showing up. I'm giving you the best of everything I have. I'm giving you all of my energy every night, no matter what. I have been on stage with a barf bucket. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Green in the face.
I threw up on stage. I swallowed it, kept playing.
I'm still there. I still show up, you know? I can remember a show with Justin where Kevin couldn't be there because one of his kids was in the hospital. And I had to run between his rig and my rig, play some of his parts, run back to mine, play my parts, run back to his, play his parts. to make sure that the primary parts were getting played. And all I remember was coming backstage and Justin just looked at me and he did this.
Wow.
He was like, I don't know how you did that, but it was unreal. Wow. He was like, that right there says so much about you.
Yeah.
It's commitment.
Damn.
It's 150% commitment. My getting hired by John Mayer was because of my commitment. I mean, one tour manager who had been with, shout out to Dave Brown. Dave Brown was a tour manager for Justin Timberlake. Shout out to Ken Healy, who was the tour manager for John Mayer. They had a conversation. Ken said, John's looking for a new keyboard player.
I got a guy.
Dave said, I got the perfect guy for you.
Right.
Dave calls me. He says, hey, Charles, you want to go tour John Mayer? Yes, of
Sounds
course.
Great. Yeah.
Hung up the phone. I got a call from Ken an hour or two later. He sent me Friends, Lovers, or Nothing.
Oh, wow.
Which was the song to learn. Mm-hmm. 2 days later, I went to Village Studios. I met with Steve and I met with John and we sat there and we played down the song and then we jammed for like 45 minutes.
Hang on. You're going to have to talk about that a lot. Just the three of you guys?
Yeah, me, Steve, and John jamming for like 45 minutes.
That's
it was incredible.
Huge. So I guess to talk about that, was it just like vamping on the chorus?
I mean, we played the song, but then he just, well,
because I know that song specifically has like that fat outro. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, on that tour that you guys did together would usually be one of the last songs in the set, if not the last song.
If not,
it's got that big, like Freebird, pretty resolving chorus.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we played that and we just played it down. And then it was just like, oh, what key you feeling like today, John? He was like, E minor. Okay, cool. Then I started playing a riff and me and Steven, we just jammed and jammed and jammed and jammed and soloed and jammed until our eyes turned inside out.
And this is also kind of like a macro level of what we've been talking about. One thing I had written down on here is achieving mastery, right? So at what point did you feel like you had a certain command over the instrument to where you can kind of sing, play, write, create, transcribe, whatever you want to, right? And not because that's your goal, but the idea of like, I'm comfortable in any kind of musical situation you could drop me into, right? If it's like a touring gig, studio gig, or whatever it is, I can find my context within this song. At what point did you feel like you achieved that kind of an understanding and a control over like, I know how to approach this. I know how to give this thing its thing.
I have never found that place.
I don't believe you because like
I've never found that place.
Huh.
I'm never a perfect example. Shout outs to Alex Iono and his new album, The Gospel at 23. My publisher and Alex called me. They said, hey, we want you to play piano on this album. They flew me to Connecticut. When I got there to Billy's house and I sat behind the piano and I thought it was going to be like a pop thing, like play 4 chords and keep it pushing, play 4 chords and they do this thing. He says, no, we're recording this album, piano, a kick drum, a tambourine, and a gospel choir. And that's it.
Wow.
The whole album. He said, so the guitar player is you. The bass player is you.
Wow.
The keyboard player is you. The percussionist is you. The snare, hi-hat, cymbals. Where am I as a pianist? I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Not to mention, oh yeah, this is a gospel album. It's a gospel flavored album. And I'm not a gospel player.
Right.
I'm from Detroit, but I didn't grow up in church. I grew up playing classical music.
Right.
Every time I'm not comfortable, when I listen back, I'm like, hell yeah. One of the things that I always can connect to is the emotion. That's one of the things I rely on is my ability to dive into emotion. I know what the emotion, what it feels like to be in a church storefront. I mean, in a storefront church and kind of be the, guy playing piano on Sunday. And that's kind of where I went. If I can take myself to that location, I can get into that mindset, then I can identify myself with that emotion. And therefore I can tell the story.
This is the shit that you can't learn at any music school. You can only learn these things by being on stage and being so fucking tired. You are an hour into a 2-hour set. You're already tired. Your shoulder's hurting from 2 nights before. And then you look over and the bass player does that thing that he does every single night. And you're like, fuck, this is special, right? Or like, that the singer's going to stop and he's going to tell his story here. And it's going to be some, emotional, this is why I never gave up story. And you can feel the people in the crowd that are resonating with this kind of, what I'm saying? Like all these things that they don't talk about in a music school, in any kind of music textbook, but you feel these things. And this is what I was referring to, by the way, when I was talking earlier about like achieving mastery, being aware that it's so much more than just going out and playing the notes right.
I think it's time for a subject change.
I got really into some Celtic music last week, like really, really into it.
That's all you. I don't know.
Which is no, dude. It's so freaking good.
Huh.
I mean, it's folk music. There's the one thing about music that the root of every genre of music is folk. Is the song that you sing when you're sitting around the campfire and you got nothing to do, or some guy that was, sitting around and he picks up a harmonica and starts playing something.
Human cultures all over the planet. Like before we had books and Bibles and languages and mathematics and stuff, like you said, we were caveman dancing around a fire, singing songs and beating drums and stuff. And the real crazy interesting thing is that in Far Eastern Asian music, certainly most like traditional Thai folk music, it's all pentatonic, right? And then the pentatonic scale is a major part of what we would consider Western music too. And how cultures on completely different sides of the globe ended up with music that is based around the same or can fit into the same principles of these 12 notes. That is fucking wild to me. So like when you talk about Celtic music, my knee-jerk reaction is like, I don't think I'm gonna get this. But then you hear it and it's like, oh no, I hear they're stacking chords and then this is the counterpoint and this is how the melody is moving and et cetera, et cetera. Interesting.
Meanwhile, I listen to Celtic at 2:00 and Marilyn Manson at 4. Like he says, we are sick. We are chaos. Yes.
One of the things that I love batting around is just like why we're here, who put us here. Was it the Big Bang? Was it God? This and that. I don't have any kind of definitive answers. I used to, when I was 19, think it was edgy and cool to be an atheist and there is no God. I've loosened up severely on that. I find the existence of God to be plausible based on how my iPhone reacts during shuffle, because sometimes I need to hear a specific song or I was thinking about a specific song. And then of the 3,842 songs that my phone possibly could have played next, bam, Shape of You by Ed Sheeran. God damn it, I didn't want to hear this fucking song right now. And then there it is. I'm like, are you fucking with me on purpose? Are you doing this on purpose to see how I'll react? Because there you go. Right? Or like when I was thinking about a song and then I go to Kohl's and that's the shit on the radio. Like how? And are these grand coincidences, or is fucking DJ Steve Jobs, on the ones and twos from heaven, like, I'm going to fuck this kid's Tuesday up.
Right. Yeah. I've always been a very spiritual person. I went to Catholic school growing up, like during elementary school, which is where my love for pipe organ came from. So when I got into high school, I went to a Baptist church. Okay. And my sister and I went. My parents didn't go, but my sister and I would go because we had friends that went there, and it was like we knew people there, and we wanted to know. We had questions, so we went to church and we sat and we listened and we observed and we took it all in. And then we've always had the ability to come home and ask questions. Well, he said, "Honor thy father and mother," but what if your mother and father are pieces of shit? Then what? Right. So we always had this thing about organized religion. Interesting. And there's nothing wrong with organized religion. Sure. I think that it's for some, if it works for you, it works for you. It ain't going to work for everybody. It's not supposed to work for everybody. I do recognize the power of the spirit. I do understand that there is a energy that is all encompassing. There is a consciousness of this whole universe that connects us all. The reason why we're even connected is because of some other form of consciousness. Your energy was drawn to my energy, and then my energy was drawn to yours, and now we're friends. Sure. And to me, that is the universe. It's God. That's the energy. That's the, what's in me is the same thing that's in that tree over yonder. And like I said, so I'm spiritual. Religious? Nah, not really.
When I was younger, I didn't understand the utility of faith-based thinking, right? Or like, because I used to hold the opinion of like, if I can't prove it, then it's not worth believing in, right? If I don't have evidence that this thing is true, then it's not worth believing in. And I still largely hold that ideal, but the older I get, the more life happens to me. I understand now the notion that like, even if I can't prove that some shit is going to work out, I have to keep telling myself that it's going to, or else I'm not going to make it to tomorrow. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like if I allow pessimism and, even if reality indicates that like you should be pessimistic about a thing, if you want to be realistic, I have to have faith and the optimism, whether misplaced or not, that it's gonna work out, so that I can keep swinging at the ball, so I can keep taking shots. Because if I don't believe that it could work out or it's gonna work out, I'm not gonna have the gas inside of me to keep trying to make something happen. You know what I mean? And
you're just gonna sit down.
Well, and admittedly, there are days or weeks at a time that it's been harder to get up and remind myself why I want to do the thing. There's a drummer I follow on Instagram named Dave Elish, who is this like drummer's drummer. He teaches everybody's favorite drummer how to play. And he posted something about the concept of action doesn't follow motivation. Motivation follows action. And it's a counterintuitive thing because like you're talking about, if we're just sitting here around waiting to be motivated, waiting for the inspiration fairy to come show up, you're probably going to be waiting a long time.
Never happened.
But the flip side is if I say to myself, no matter what, all right, cool, I am unmotivated right now. I do not feel inspired. I'm going to try to pump something out anyways. I'm going to go for a run anyways. As a result of having pushed through that period where you're like, I don't really feel like doing this, or I'm not feeling this thing, you can turn around and be like, oh shit, I did it anyways. And then you are motivated and inspired to do it again the next day. The creativity gods reward consistency, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like,
can I tell you what's a crazy reward that I've gotten from this workshop?
Sure.
I'm a coach.
That's right.
In the workshop.
Yeah. So talk about that a little bit.
One of the things that I gave the students today, we had a powwow with the students today. It was about 50, maybe 60 students on a Zoom call.
Okay.
And I told them this thing. There are 4 super destructive words in the human mind. I don't feel like. And this is how I run my life now.
Dude.
Anytime I hear or say, if my mind says, I don't feel like, or my mouth says, I don't feel like, it's usually followed by the word fuck. Because I usually go, I don't feel like fuck.
Yeah.
And then because I'm reprogrammed now to say that anytime I say that, I must immediately do it. So if it's like going to the gym, I'm like, damn, I don't feel like fuck.
I gotta go to the
and
gym.
I just put on my clothes and I go to the gym.
How much of that is an ego thing of like not, because for me, that's what it would be mostly of like, I can't let the bitch part of me win, but I don't know if that's a good enough motivator to keep, I don't know if I'm making sense here. Like
ego, yes, it does have a lot to do with ego.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with your ego. Like you have to think about it. It's literally what's happening is your brain is giving you a reason to not be accountable for something you should be doing. Mm-hmm. It's justifying why you should not be doing it.
Sure.
So if you know that your brain is actually trying to find a way out.
Yeah, you're lying to me.
You're lying to me.
Right.
I'm not going to let you lie to me.
Right.
I'm going to take control over this. And me taking control over it is saying, hey, that thing that I don't feel like doing right now is exactly what I should be doing right now. Usually when you say that, you actually have the time and the space to do that thing. Sure. But then you choose, oh, let me go watch that show. Or, oh, let me go play that video game. There are so many times where I was actually in the bed, under the sheets, like, doing like the little, getting ready to go to sleep. And my brain says, oh, you didn't write today. I don't fucking feel like, covers off, right. Turn on the keyboard.
It is a less complicated way of living your life too, right? Like, because if you say like, cool, I don't live by my feelings. I live by my principles, right? If my principle says, Absolutely. Cool, I do this thing, even though I don't feel like doing it.
I do it because I have to do it. I don't let my feelings get in the way of what needs to be done.
One of the most important things I've learned, if I allow the external forces of darkness to derail me, they're gonna. There are so many forces of evil at work that are trying to, that it's so easy for a creative to get knocked off of their mojo. You know what I mean, right? Like it's so easy for the kinds of people that trend towards artistry and creativity to feel insecure, to feel inadequate, to feel like an imposter, right? It's time for another subject change. What are you working on right now? What is the current creative project or projects, plural?
Okay, so right now I am completing my first solo piano project. I haven't recorded it yet, but it is written. Now is the point where I'm doing transcriptions. So I'm taking all of the music and actually putting it on sheet music, which is pretty cool. I've never done this before, where I'm meeting people on Fiverr from all over around the world who are taking my compositions, the stuff that I wrote in MIDI, and actually putting it to sheet music. And then I have to go back and note by note edit and make sure everything is correct in its correct space.
Wow.
So right now I have 9 of 11 done. My publisher called me and said, hey dude, this George Floyd thing is blowing up. I need to know how you feel about this. I need to hear your voice. Your people need to hear your voice.
That, yeah.
So I ended up making a composition called George Floyd and the Struggle for Equality. And it's pretty crazy, but it's pretty sincere, and it's sad, and it's hopeful,
Sure.
but it's angry, but it's, you know, at the end, it's togetherness and overcoming.
Kind of succinctly describes how most of America is feeling right now, or at least most of the people who I feel like line up on the same team as me, right? Is like, there is this pervasive sense of anger and resentment towards the powers that be and the people in charge and the way things have been. And the country feels more unstable, more like a firecracker now than it ever has been. We are angry, but again, we have to have faith. We have to have optimism that we can fix this and we can be better than this. And we can change things, or else how do you keep fighting? Right? Okay. So tell me a little bit more.
As I started writing, and like I said, I worked the muscle. I worked that muscle. And the more I worked that muscle, the more I was able to remember that my better voice is not the one you hear me speaking with, but it's the one that lives inside of me as emotion and as spirit and as thought. That voice is stronger and has always been stronger than me and words. Me and words can get confusing, you know, just like that, you know, me and words. Somebody said, right, oh, it's words and I, you know, you know, that's confusing to me.
Right.
But as opposed to playing a melody that I believe in, and I know what this makes me feel. Like one of the pieces I wrote about my mom, and my mom used to teach us how to waltz. Like when I was a little kid, she would stand me on her feet and she would just listen to Disney movies and just waltz around the house. And that became, you know, as a little kid. And then as a teenager, she would like dance with me and she just grabbed me and we started waltzing. And I wrote, my mom's name is Cookie. So I wrote a piece called Cookie Waltz. And it's this really fun. It's just that me being able to express that feeling and how I felt going through those points in my life with my mom, and now looking at my sister and her children and saying she needs a tool to teach them what my mom taught us.
Yeah, interesting.
So now this is the piece that passes down the generations. You know, now awesome. My mom, you know, my sister waltzes with my niece and nephew to this song that I wrote about my mother.
That's awesome.
So it's easier for me to convey those emotions through sound and through my native tongue, which is the piano.
Wow. So
it was eventually, like I said, it got easy. It got easier and it got fun and it got exciting. And when it all came together, you know, it's sometimes I sit back and listen to some of this stuff and I'm looking at it on paper, which is another, you know, these are my thoughts and emotions on paper. Now I'm looking at it. You know, not only playing them or seeing the MIDI data, but I'm actually looking at them on paper. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty special.
Dude, isn't that wild, right? This idea of like, this didn't exist before I organized it into existence. And I say organized it into existence, right? Because, and tell me how you feel about this notion too, this idea of like artists, musicians, writers, whoever you want to call it, like it sounds and feels super pretentious, but this concept of the statue was already there. I just panned it away and just revealed it, right? Like most of the stuff that I'm super stoked on, I don't know if I ever sent you the stuff that I did with Johnny Rain, but it's some of my favorite playing, and it wasn't necessarily super direct.
I've heard a lot of it.
Yeah. He was just like, hey, just give me Prince, Little Red Corvette. And I'm like, you got it. And I dialed in the sound of my Strat and gave him a couple different pickup options and just did my thing. And what he ended up comping together, so much fun. And I listened back to that thing that I did, which is a context that I'm not super familiar with, right? Like of more like a funk Stratocaster kind of thing. And I was still able to squeeze something cool out of that, but like totally forgot my train of thought. My bad. We're talking about
like I said, your voice, your inner voice. Your inner voice is what gives you that instinct, which says, you know, A flat instead of A natural, you know, which says bend there instead of not bending there. It's your inner voice, who you are. The reason why I work with you a lot is because I love your voice. I love the way you speak.
I think for me, there's more homework I have to do in terms of like, why do I love a quarter note snare beat so much? Like a la like Dance to the Music, Sly and the Family Stone, or like Foo Fighters, The Pretender. If it's a song, I don't care what genre it is, and it has a ga, 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 I'm fucking in. I don't care who's singing. I don't care what it is. Something about that groove, right? Because I can articulate knowing that it's called a quarter note snare kind of a groove, I can bring that up now, right? So if I'm talking to a drummer like, hey, this is how I get this message across, if this is the part that I want. And learning more about those kinds of things and those choices to narrow down and hone in on getting the thing in my brain out onto the session has been so hard. Like how have you approached that kind of a thing and getting better at translating that? Or is that something that you just have always kind of felt comfortable with? Because what it sounds to me is like when you're talking about with the trial and error of like, you just keep fucking banging away at it.
It's trial and error, dude. Bashing at it until you hear what's in your head.
Yeah. In the past, when I have done that, this is just me being honest. It's been demoralizing because in my head, this is what the internal dialogue from me goes, right? Like, all right, cool. I'm gonna sit down and write a dope ass song today. I sit down and try to write said dope song. I got a 6 out of 10 idea, 5 out of 10 idea. Like, it's not that great of an idea. I listen back to it and then I'm discouraged that like, oh man, I really wanted to make this cool thing. And all I got was a fucking C- out of it, right? And then I try the next day and it's another C-, and the next day is a C. If that fourth day isn't a fucking A+, and I have 3 days worth of sessions of like writing 814 A, 814 B, 814 C, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so discouraging psychologically for me to where it's been like, all right, I'm not gonna write this shit anymore. I'm gonna try a different idea, and then I give up on the idea before I have a chance to like fucking beat it into shape. So I don't know. It sounds to me like that's just part of your process too.
I'm gonna send you a picture of this.
Sure.
Every one of the sessions that I have that I've written in, if you look at the if I zoom in, I have things where I'll show you what I wrote. This is the whole piece. This is all 4 minutes and 20 seconds of the piece, right? And then I slowly zoom out. And this piece that looks like it covers the whole screen becomes this little bitty slither. And you see this big, long fucking rack of information.
Like, these are the ideas. This is the shit that I didn't use.
This is what it took to get this. Being on, 8.13 version 1, and then being on 8.13 version 15, the 8.13 version 21.
Right.
Like having the stick to itness to be like, I'm gonna do it and keep doing it until it's right.
Yeah. Is there a tour story that you can give me? We were in blank city and then some crazy shit happened, or like an on-stage moment where it's something embarrassing. So one thing that I can think of, which I've been trying so hard to fucking find, and maybe you have the link. I had a YouTube video of when it was I think it was your 30th birthday at the United Center, and you guys were on tour, and John made the whole fucking arena sing you happy birthday. That is some fucking bucket list shit, bro. That is, I saw that and I was so fucking stoked and like just happy.
Let's just do it. I would like Charlie Wilson to remember the night he turned 30 that 17,000 people at the United Center sang happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Charlie. Happy birthday to you.
Does that kind of stuff stick out to you, or like what kind of stuff sticks out from gigs like that? You know what I mean? Like not just like playing to a sea of people and a sea of lighters and camera, phone, flashlights and stuff, but like, again, that energy of creating the thing.
I am the type of musician where everything comes together if I'm being emotionally honest in every moment. If I'm being present, and in my presence, I'm being honest. You will make the right choices because you will know, you feel when Steve starts pulling in the snare and the snare starts going a little bit ahead. You feel it and you'll know exactly how to, you won't even, it's not even a thought. You just know.
Yeah.
Your body, you will naturally react. And that's kind of where I've existed throughout my whole career, is being there, being present, being innate, and letting my body and my soul kind of take over and steer me in the right direction. You know, Heartbreak Warfare, they saying, okay, we're good to go. And I hit that sample for that first, you know, orchestra tuning up thing. And I just hit that sample and we hear the Steve, 1, 2, boom, boom, ding, the ding, and we're off.
Yeah.
And from then, everything is not, there's no moment before where I'm playing and there's no moment after where I'm playing. Wow. There's only being on the train. And now I'm a passenger. And then when I finally step off the train, at the end, it's like, oh, that was a cool ride.
Yeah.
Charlie Wilson on the keys, just a little please.
I don't remember a lot of things before. I don't remember a lot of things after, but I do remember the moments where it all was there. I remember moments where it connected on higher spiritual levels. I remember times where I'm thinking about some of my mentors and my teachers who have passed on, and I could see them standing above me. Bro. And the lights are shining down on me and I'm looking at them right in their face and I'm playing this music that was created in our city, in Detroit. Like this is our stuff. Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them and I'm connecting and, you know, I'm crying and I'm just screaming and I'm like, and then, like I said, it's just what's happening in that moment. Sure. And then when that last note is played and that last count goes off, I'm back to being Charles again. And I'm like, whew.
I love it. That's
so
awesome.
To me, it's being present. The best musicians are the ones that are present. Steve, John Mayer, Justin Timberlake, all those people, the best professionals are just people who are able to get on stage and be present. If you make a wrong note, who cares? It's already behind you.
Right. It's gone now. Yeah.
It's gone now. There's nothing to even think about anymore. I'm still present. It passed me. It just, you know, it just went past me. So that's kind of like the winning, to me, that's always been the winning ticket, is to be as present as possible. There are times even when I feel myself not being present and I chant to myself, get inside, get inside.
Wow.
Get inside. And then when I catch up, I feel myself connect. And then when I connect, I'm in. And if I feel myself go out again, I chant it, get inside.
Dude,
you know,
see, this is the kind of shit that I want to talk about on this podcast, right? Like, because these are the kind of exercises, the actual, you're talking to yourself exercises that get you in the mindset to deliver the best product, right? Or like to be the best version, the most present and complete and honest, transparent version of yourself on that stage. Right. And when I think back and when I look back and watch clips of like me playing live, right? 10 times out of 10, I can look at a clip and I can see and hear how hard I was thinking or how hard I was trying in every clip, right? Like the clips where I can hear how scared I was or like, I don't want to fuck this part up. I can hear the hesitation in my playing. The notes are just a split second late or a split second just less confident. And the flip side of that is the moments where I've said, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it and do the thing, or just like, I'm here in the moment. I might have fucked up that first note leading into it, but that's just because I'm fucking digging in so hard or whatever it's going to be. Those moments I look back on and it's like, oh yeah, I nailed it there. Even if the fuck ups or not. The last segment or section that I did want to talk about, this is going to be a segment called Put It On Wax, right? Okay. The idea of putting it on the record, verbalizing it and saying out loud the things that we are hoping for, the things that we want to accomplish, the things that we're currently chasing, the goals that we have, right? Starting this podcast has been something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I know it seems and feels like shitty timing because it's like, hey, quarantine happened, everybody started a podcast, and more power to you because I'm one of the horde of people that are trying to do this thing, right? But I can think about all the excuses and all the reasons that I would give myself to not do this thing, and it's all bullshit. It's all always only been in my own head. And so when I took the plunge of saying, fuck it, I'm going to pay for this thing, I'm going to buy that piece of gear and this piece of gear, now the shit's coming. Now I got to figure out how to use it. I got to plunge. Bro, sidebar, you're stuck with me for life.
I know you fuck with me, you stuck with me.
There's a handful of people that just without question, if you call me and say, can you do this thing? I say yes. I don't have to hear it. I hope that you're not going to call me for some Brazilian bossa nova shit, because I'm not going to be the guy to deliver. But I would also imagine, seriously, that like if you called me for that shit, there's a reason you called me for it.
Exactly.
Right? Like, so that means you must think that I can do it, or what I would bring to the table is the correct ingredient for this sandwich. So I got to rise to the challenge. But yeah, man, you are one of the handful of people that I trust in that way and I look up to in that way. And I can't say enough, you know, how oh boy, I have to burp to not cry. I can't say enough how valuable your friendship. You know, I mean, again, not just as a musician, but as a man,
just as a boy,
dude.
as my homie, as a fellow human being on this earth, dude. Glad to be on the rock at the same time as you.
Yeah, it's good timing. So by verbalizing it, by putting it out there, by making the intention known, it's helped me to continue to chase the shit that I want to chase. So talk to me about some things that you're working on now, the goals and the kind of things you want to put out into the ether and make real, make happen.
Well, right now, like I said, I'm on transcription number 10 of 11 for the project under the artist name of BLK BOK. The project will probably be called The BLK BOK. It's 11 classical pieces that I'm going to start recording probably sometime next month.
Fuck yeah.
It definitely will be my first Spotify release, my first, massively distributed release. Luckily, I have the support of my publisher and my publishing company, which is Warner Chappell. As well, I have a project called The Frequency, which you know about, which you have played on, which you are a part of, which I need your help with some new things, some new ideas that I have.
Please send it to me. Yeah, absolutely.
The Frequency is about a collaboration. It's me being a part of a higher frequency, or the frequency, which is connectivity, me being the human that I am, and me making a project with all the people that I love, the people that I love to be around, the people who are on that frequency. And if you know it and you feel it and you're on that frequency, you'll understand. As soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, I get it. He collabed with those people for this reason.
Right.
So it's basically, the Frequency is always about a collaborative project. It's always about hand-to-hand connection. Everything with the Frequency is about connection. Every one of the songs I've co-written or co-produced, worked or collaborated with someone on everything. So the project itself is all about collaboration. My idea is to have them kind of come out tandemly. Have one album come out sort of in this genre and then another album at the same time, just kind of, here's two parts of me. You know, it's not about, this mass appeal. It's about those niche people who understand and can relate and can actually connect to the project and the music. Dude. Those are the people that matter to me most. If there's, 5 fans of it, those 5 fans, I'm going to give them 100%.
Absolutely.
And that's
I'll take that too, by the way. I would rather have a small group of people that absolutely fuck with what I'm doing than like the majority of people be like, it's fine. I would rather the handful of people that are interested in this thing be super interested and me speak that language and be on that frequency with them in that way. That's so much more important to me than having, X amount of eyeballs on a thing or something like that.
Right. As well as I'm working with R&B singer Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, that's right.
And also another pop rock singer named, his artist name is Owen. His name is Christian Owen. He was a dancer for Rihanna. He made an album and got signed to a label, and everything, the rest is history.
Congratulations, sir.
We're creating the rest of it. But I've always had a great respect for his talent. I've always had a great respect for who he is as a person. And it's just good to see someone that I know winning like this. And I want to give everything that I have to support what he's creating.
And then you mentioned Jessamy too. So I met Jessamy this past year at NAMM in this past January. And I don't know if you heard this recently or not, but there's not going to be a NAMM 2021. And I think it's cool and trendy to shit on NAMM every year. And I do shit on NAMM every year because it's too many people. The guitars are too loud and the lines and the food's expensive and the beer is expensive, all of it, right?
Yeah.
But it is kind of something I do look forward to every year because it's like, man, I feel like my tribe, my clan is here with me all in this place.
Yeah.
And it's also nice too because it's the one time a year I feel like where everybody comes down to where I live. I live closer to where NAMM happens than to where most music in Los Angeles happens. Right. And so it's nice that now my Uber ride to the bars afterwards is $8 instead of an $80 Uber between here and West Hollywood. But so when they announced that they're not going to do NAMM anymore next year because of COVID, I'm like, now that it's not going to be there, I'm going to be kind of bummed. Yeah. But this past January, I got to see you play with young Mr. Jessamy Barry at the Decibel booth. So talk to me a little bit about Jessamy and talk to me about Decibel.
Oh, let's talk about Decibel first. I love these people.
Sure.
My familia, my Italian familia. Yeah. They are so amazing. I have a deal with Decibel keyboards and I play their instruments, and I think their technology is way far in front of everyone else as far as piano modeling, and they just have an amazing sounding instrument. And I thank them so much. Every time I set finger to this keyboard, I feel like I'm at a grand piano and I'm able to write an album like the Black Book because it sounds so good. And I have a great relationship with the company, and that's to me what really matters, is to have a relationship with the people who are making the instruments that I'm performing and using.
Sure.
To perform on. Also, Jessamy, wow.
This kid's gonna be trouble, bro. Like this cat's fucking cold.
Jessamy has been in the studio with Dr. Dre for the past couple months.
Wow.
And I think that this is the beginning of something that is gonna be explosive and wonderful and creative. And I'm so happy for him. I mean, he's like my little brother.
It's so cool watching you play, man, because I've gotten to work with you in multiple contexts, and I've also gotten to see you play in multiple contexts, different genres and stuff. And I would describe Jessamy's music as, it's R&B, there's some soul. I remember going to the show, and this cat's got some, not only does this kid have pipes and like he has the showmanship and he's he's sexy and shit and he's rocking the mic, right? But like the songwriting is magnificent, dude. Like the hooks, I'm not going to sing it and ruin it, but I'm going to hopefully paste in the clip here of this chorus. What I'm so fascinated by, not just with this kid, but with most of the artists that you work with and most of the times that I've gotten to work with you, is capturing the emotion, capturing the feeling of a thing and putting it on wax, putting it on record, So do you guys have, is there a record with Justin coming out too?
He is working. Yes, he is currently working on his first record, and it's really exciting. I think, this is the beginning of something so massive and so mega, and just, I'm so happy for him. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
And, we have some of the best conversations, similar to you and I, we have some of the best conversations about life and music and work and balance and structure and spirituality and so many beautiful, wonderful things. And this kid deserves it. I know people that deserve it, but he really deserves it.
Oh.
He's worked very hard for it. He's, he shows up every day. He works every day. He constantly works. He works to his bone. And I think that, everything that's happening now within his career is just a blessing. And I'm excited for the next, phase of this. I'm excited there's an excitement with me being away and kind of watching it from afar as his musical director, just kind of like, wow, they're creating something that I get to go in and say, okay, now we have this thing. Now, how are we going to turn this? And what beautiful ways can we convey this music and this message and this energy in front of a crowd? I'm thinking about going to LA in the next couple weeks to get in the studio with those guys. But I have not been, I'm here in Vegas, so they've been kind of doing their thing. Yeah. I love it. I love it to see it, knowing that my little homies are working.
Yeah, man.
I love that feeling.
Well, dude, thank you again so much for sitting down with me and doing this, dude.
Thank you for having me, dude. This is great.
I love you. I hope you're doing well. I'm glad to see that you're doing well.
Love you too, brother. Yes.
The phrase that I'm gonna end every episode with, I'm gonna have my guest, if you wouldn't mind closing things out by saying, "Don't be a dum-dum."
Pow. Don't be a dum-dum.
Let's go, bro. He can't stop laughing. He got a case of the chuckles. Why you walking like that? Why you walking like that? I'm trying to do what? What are you trying to do? Why are you walking like that? Oh. Right, no, two more. How many more? Two more. And we're back.
That nigga got the giggles.
Yeah, got the mega giggles. Bro, Pow. What's up? What's cracking, bro?
Why is he standing like that? He's standing like his body hurt. Like his upper body heavy.